order. I am a seeker. I have always been looking for the truth, and I've always done my best to move toward the truth in as authentic a way as I know how. My life has been a study in moving from darkness to light. I wrote about this in my book, Democrat to Deplorable. That transition wasn't purely political, but also mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual. Please remember that I was a Democrat and I'm now a deplorable. Please remember that. You have to remember it's my brand. It's very important. Very important to my brand that you know that I was a Democrat and now I'm one of you. As I went from Democrat to deplorable, #branding, I also went from the manosphere to the Americosphere. Oh, yeah, here you go. He was totally in the manosphere before. Before he wrote his book, Democrat to Deplorable, he was in the manosphere. Back when he wasn't in any sphere. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Jack Murphy started with the Democrat to Deplorable story. That's where his social media presence blossomed. I was in the man. I was telling men how to live then, but not anymore. Now I'm telling Americans how to America. From hedonism to service to others. From libertarian values. Wait, what? Libertarian values? Fuck off, bitch. It's not, you were not a libertarian. Just because you were hedonistic, libertarians are not hedonistic. That's not a libertarian value. Hedonism is not libertarianism. Libertarianism is ignoring someone else's hedonism, not your own. Your own is your responsibility, you dumb piece of shit. It's just it's buzzwords. Look, I'm a based and red-pilled conservative like you guys. Hello, fellow Trump supporters. From subjective secularism to objective truth. People told me the pursuit of happiness meant doing whatever you wanted. And I was too weak-willed to understand that that wasn't right. Objective truths were hidden from me growing up in a Democratic family. Stop it. Stop it. This is already embarrassing. You're gonna blame me. Gotta blame my upbringing. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Growing up liberal, growing up in a progressive environment, freedom meant you could thumb your nose at anyone trying to warn you to stop doing something that might harm you. It was pursuing your happiness, doing your own thing. And boy, did I like to pursue that penis. Happiness, I mean. No matter what that thing was, especially if it was a penis. It took me decades of being a proactive, engaged adult learner to figure out that that wasn't the case. I learned that our country was built upon people who didn't believe that you should do your own thing no matter what it was. I learned that the founding fathers encouraged us to act in harmony with the virtues and excellence of Aristotle and the morals of religion, specifically Christianity. Well, except for Thomas Paine. I mean, except for him, though. Well, and Thomas Jefferson and, Franklin and a little bit of Washington and, maybe like Hamilton. What are you talking about? Just throwing darts at conservative buzzwords. Please hit one. Please hit one. Please hit one. Oh, God, this is so fucking embarrassing. I've always been on a trajectory of trying to figure out the truth. No, you didn't. You said you were a liberal who thumbed his nose at everybody, so you literally weren't. You've just discounted your own point. It has taken me a long time, and I have made bad decisions along the way. This is why when I sit on a bar stool, I hit the floor. 3 years ago, I did some things I am no longer proud of. And this is where we're going to get to the most. This is the most of an admission you're going to actually get. Like, what things? What are things that you're not proud of? Like, I bought a Ford Fusion Hybrid. And it's been a decent car, but I'm not proud of the purchase. Not proud of it. It's one of my weaker moments. What the hell? Things which disgust me today. The catch was they were acceptable in the context of my belief system at the time. No, they weren't. They were never acceptable. That's the trick. That's the rub, Jack. It was never acceptable. You just did it. This is the shit. This is why people can't trust you. You're just equivocating. It was not acceptable at the time. You just didn't care that it wasn't acceptable. It's my beliefs. It's my raising. It's my this. It's my that. No, stop it. I used to believe that consent between and among all parties involved was enough. Sure. There you go. Consent between and among all parties was enough. Oh, does that explain the little girl's comment, Jack? Is pedophilia okay if there's consent between all parties? Like, is that the premise here? Because, like, I mean, I think, like, I tried to give you the benefit of the doubt on that statement, but, like, the situation is, you can never say consent is just enough. If your buddy consents for you to bludgeon him to death with a hammer, that doesn't make it okay that you do it. This is humanism, a belief system that says humans are born innately good. So whatever we desire must be perfectly acceptable. Is that what they did? Is that what your Democrat family did, Jack? Again, just think of the concept of this guy, right? Think of the concept of this. He wants us to believe that his family and environment told him literally whatever he wanted was fine. Think of the most liberal people you know. Is racism okay as long as everyone consents? In a liberal house? No, of course not. Not in liberalism. Certainly not. Actually, that's the place where definitely not. Like our LGBTQ plus jokes, okay, in liberal circles, so long as the gays are in on it? No, they're not. Because they can't be in on it because of oppression, preventing their ability to actively consent. So we're supposed to believe that his super liberal, ultra Democrat parents just raised him to believe that everything was fine, no matter what. They never did anything. This is another lie, of course. All desires are equally valid and moral. That means if you enter into a consensual relationship or a consensual engagement with somebody, then that's enough, and it contains all the justification there is for your behavior. Now, I recognize that consent is still required, but it's not enough. Consent is not enough to mediate society. No, actually, consent is enough to mediate. Fundamental misunderstandings of societal interactions between free people. Because people can consent to terrible things. That does not make these things acceptable. Correct? It doesn't. I thought that as long as I did what I wanted without causing direct damage to others, that it was okay. But you were causing direct damage to others. It was my life after all, but I learned consent cannot make bad into a good all by itself. Jack, buddy. That wasn't consensual, what you were doing. You were dragging this lady along who entrusted her life into you, and you should have been entrusting some into her. And then you betrayed that trust. Like, it was your job to stop the fuck shit. That was your job. That's what you agreed to do as a partner in a relationship. And they do the same thing. Like when you have 9 beers and want to jump off a roof into the pool, but the pool's like 26 feet away from the roof. They're like, you know what? Maybe don't. Maybe don't do that. And if you yell at them and hit them or whatever, then that's you being a piece of shit. But if you listen to them, that's because they're looking out for you. Men look out for women and women look out for men when they're in a relationship. It's consent plus trust. You betrayed it because you just ignored that trust existed. Because you're a fucking weirdo who doesn't understand relationships at all while you talk about them. All right, here we go. Let's see. It was my life after all, but I learned consent cannot make bad into good all by itself. After that realization, I began to explore what else needs to come along with that consent. If consent is not sufficient to determine good and bad, if consent is not the totality, then what is? What about the common good? What does the action you're consenting to mean for everyone else involved in other ways? Like your parents and your children. This is not the common good. What is this? The common good is not to be enforced through law. Wait. You've had months to do this, Jack. What does this typo even mean? But perhaps through social mediation, through cultural mediation, or the law of fashion and opinion, we should do what is good so that our world is good for others. He's still missing the point, by the way. The common good is not a thing. And yes, rugged individual, like again, he's talking about the founding fathers and what they believed. No, they believed that rugged individualism with morality would be good for yourself, which would make good for everyone around you. But the morality wasn't for policing of others or creating a good for them. It was for you. Virtue in yourself would lead to good outcomes for everyone around. It's because it's based on Adam Smith. Wealth of nations plus moral sentiments. You need the other part of it. You need morality. What have we given you? A republic, if you can keep it. Our system of government was made for a moral people. Without morality, the people will be lost and the system of government will break down. These are all quotes from people either that founded the nation or that inspired the founding of the nation. I thought you were reading this stuff, Jack. Here we go. In the last few years, I've been offered here we go. Here it is. In the last few years, I've been offered the amazing opportunity of one-on-one education with some of the greatest scholars and spiritualists and political philosophers in the world. Name them. Name literally any of them. Who? Who is it? Who are the greatest scholars and spiritualists and political philosophers in the world today? Who are they? Name one person who falls into that category. But listen, I've had very good connections, which has given me special access to education that no one else had. That's why it took me being exposed as a giant beta cuck for this to all come apart. Like, who are you talking about? And how didn't you learn until you were made fun of relentlessly for having your fiance's tongue in your anus on film for everyone to see while talking about that sweet, sweet ass of those college boys? Like, why didn't you learn from the greatest philosophical spiritualist scholars of today over the past few years? You didn't learn anything until someone saw your tonsils through your asshole on a YouTube show. My connections over the last 3 years led me through a cycle of awakening. With that came a rejection of humanistic relative morality and an embrace of objective good. I've had an amazingly accelerated, dedicated, professionally tutored educational process that has brought me from that one position 3 years ago of consent is all to a new position today where I reject some of the things I used to embrace. Did you? Can you explain the pedagogy behind your educational path? What was the curriculum? What was your rigorous study regimen for it? How is it directed by these people? Did they consult with each other while directing this very directed education that is literally just you saying you talk to some people and you think that those people have the right idea? Like, because that's what happened. You talk to some people who have some level of social clout. I don't know, maybe Tim Pool or Rogan or Dave Rubin or Jordan Peterson. I don't know who you're talking to, but someone like that, you're like, oh, this person has some level of social clout. Therefore, they're smart. Therefore, I'm now getting an education from them. Who directed it? You're talking about a directed education. You're a fucking liar, Jack. What was the curriculum? Who developed it? What was the collaboration between your various tutors? How are they tutoring you? What did these tutoring sessions look like? How often were they? Was there a reading list? Did they generate it or did you? Did they test you for understanding of the reading list? This is how pedagogy works. I know you know a different peta word, but pedagogy is about the process of education and the theory crafting behind it and figuring out how to effectively deliver it. You're acting like that happened because you talked to some people on some interviews on a podcast. What have I found in this new way of thinking? There is virtue, specifically. Those virtues contained within our definition of masculinity: to build, to create, to provide, to protect, to instruct. None of which you were doing when all this is happening. Men acting upon the world with the intent to make it better for all people. No man is the man who gathers power to himself solely to revel in his own power. No, you have to do it in a way that's virtuous and reflects the Aristotelian excellences. And that's why the second part of our version of masculinity is also to act with honor, courage, loyalty, and strength in every context, including sexually. Originally, masculinity, according to Aristotle, was about being a good man to be part of the good polis that you create together, which is something that I've talked about before. I've been doing good work. You'll find that. I've been doing good work. Then came Machiavelli, who said it was actually just about glory. Well, that's insufficient. And then Hobbes and Locke, who said masculinity is about survival and property. Well, that's insufficient as well. And then you get to modern life, where identity is the only truth and masculinity is an angry rejection of postmodernity. No, masculinity is not just about tearing down the world because you can, just because you want to exert your will. Who thinks that it is? Masculinity is actually a little bit of all those things combined into one. It's just everything. That's what I learned. It's not one thing, it's everything. Being a good man to build and maintain the good polis for your people, achieving glory through moral means, survival and protection of property in the face of tyranny, anger at modern life and its threats to our family, and tearing down what is evil for the sake of rebuilding the good polis. Masculinity is all of these. That's my current definition and working usage of the idea of masculinity. All this learning led me to found the liminal order. Wait, when was the liminal order founded? Hold on. Let's see. When was this founded? Does anybody? 2019? 2019 was when the liminal order was founded. Okay. There you go. Not because I was a perfect man ready to teach others to be perfect men. I was still deeply flawed. I carried shame and scars from my days when I believed in liberalism. You've seen some of my worst moments on the internet in the last couple of months. Are they your worst moments, Jack?
I doubt it.
Wait.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Are they your worst moments, Jack?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
They're just the worst moments we've seen. There's no way they're the worst. There's no way. When they were still secrets, they drove me to pursue virtue in order to distance myself from the past version of me I hated so much. Oh, did you hate it? You hated it now? Sure you did. Sure you did. I wanted to teach other men to avoid the traps of hedonism I'd fallen into. How? How did you teach them to avoid it? By ignoring your past. Was it your past? When did it become your past? I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. I think that's the big problem for Jack, personally. I don't know this. This is my theory. My theory is that the big problem for Jack is that he still believes the hedonism. I don't think he's actually personally changed at all. But that's me. I think that's why he had such a trouble with the whole thing. Why he didn't want to talk about it. Why he just ignore. And when it happened, he's really hesitant to just say, yeah, that was a bad time. I was wrong then. It took him 3 months to say he was wrong. Some have said that me running the liminal order is the height of hypocrisy. They mistakenly believe that I continued to do these actions up to the very day my sins came to light. Really? Is it a mistake, though? Look. Hashtag no simp. Okay? Hashtag no simp. But the way you treated Sydney Watson and the way you explained the treatment of Sydney Watson belies all of this. Look, I set a boundary and she crossed it. I'm sorry. Like, one, you didn't really set a boundary. You just said, I'm not going to talk about that, which is fine. You never had to talk about anything. That doesn't preclude her from reading the next super chat. Two, you're on their show, so you don't have a right to set that boundary unless you set it up as a condition for your appearance in advance, which you did not. And three, you sound like an absolute beta when you say stuff like, she set a boundary, or I set a boundary, and she violated it. What are you talking about? What language of masculinity is, I set a boundary and the dumb woman didn't listen? Is that the new enlightened version of masculinity that you caused you to found the liminal order? Is that how you treat women or men? Again, hashtag no simp. It doesn't matter that Sydney Watson's a female in this, other than, I mean, I think that men should be virtuous and maybe to a slightly higher degree with women than with men for various reasons. One, you'll always act differently around the boys than you will around a woman. One, you're typically not trying to bang the boys. Or two, if you're married, you're definitely going to act different around the woman than you would, a woman who's not your wife, than some other, than the boys as well, right? There's different dynamics of the relationships going on. So again, where in your learning did this not occur to you? But even so, like, that's my personal opinion, but even so, you should not treat a man the way that you treated Sydney Watson either, especially on his turf, on his home. Very weird. All right, here we go. They wonder how I could teach men to be men when I have done things I have done. And they question rightly why I did not reveal myself to others and own my mistakes as I teach men to do. This is why we know, Jack. We know that sweet $100 a month, $4,000 lifetime membership. It's very, very tempting, isn't it? Very worried about what would happen if they saw my butthole online. My biggest mistake was not coming clean about my past. You tried to scrub it all, Jack. It's not just that you didn't come clean. It's that you actively tried to suppress and censor it. You just failed. You didn't know someone found it. I should have, so that it did not control me or threaten the work I do to help others. This is one of his phrases, the work. The work I do. The work, the work, the work. What work? What work are you doing to help others? What is it? I don't even know. I mean, maybe he is doing something, but I don't know what work he's doing to help others. Because when my past was revealed, see, this is the other problem. This is the other problem. If you are at all knowledgeable about Ayn Rand and objectivism, right? You can see her opinion on altruism. And Jack is talking about several virtues that Rand would probably agree with. But one of them that Rand would be very critical of is that Jack is doing the work to help others. To help others. Not that objectivism is correct, by the way. Objectivism has all sorts of issues with it. But all of these philosophies are instructive, right? They all have instructive points that you can glean out of them, even if you don't wholeheartedly dive into the philosophy. But objectivism calls out the altruist as disingenuous and dishonest. Everything about Jack here is, I did all this for everyone else. While I was broke, I wrote a book, I did a book tour, I was licking an asshole for $3.50 or whatever at a time because we couldn't pay bills, even though I'd been paid over $1 million by this school system. And I was just about to found the liminal order and make a shitload of money. But it was all the work for other people. That's what it was for. No, make the liminal order for you. That's masculinity. Make it for you, because then people will go, how do I get to you? And then you can instruct them, guide them. They can follow a model or a path or whatever, but help them get to how they help them. So you make it for you. Stop pretending this is for someone else. You're not building this order for someone else. You built it for you, and that's fine. But you're a liar, and that's the problem. You're still lying. Because when my path was revealed, people believed I still did those things. And that made me angry. This is not what made you angry. That it was revealed and threatened your business made you angry. Just be honest. My anger at their being revealed was really anger at myself for having ever believed as I did. No, it wasn't. This is dishonest too. I'm so mad at me for thinking that way is not how you process learning and growth. When you learn a new way, you can't beat yourself up about having not learned sooner. Like if you're actually growing and maturing because you hadn't had the opportunity to grow and mature. You can't be mad about how you acted as like a 16-year-old because you were retarded. You were a 16-year-old. It's not your fault. Unless you knew and chose to act otherwise, then you can be mad at yourself. But if you literally didn't know, you can't be mad that you believed something else if you genuinely believed it. But did you genuinely believe it then? Or do you still not genuinely believe the new thing now? And I still think it's that second one. I was ashamed. But in the moment, my anger turned outward at the people who revealed my sins when I felt I wasn't ready. I was wounded and wanted the pain to stop. People have called me many things: hypocrite, grifter, FBI plant, Mossad asset. You're not supposed to tell jokes in this, Jack. Aspiring leader. They've invented fanciful stories about my escapades. Some have used this as an excuse to tear down the work I've done helping men. I've done the work. I'm helping others. Stop this. Stop. Notice the theme? The work, the work, the work, the work. He said this in DMs to me. That's right away when I was like, nope, I got it. You wanted me on your show because of all the good work I'm doing. Like, I never said that. What the hell is that? That's a brand. This is a brand. Some of you may be kind of new to the Jack Murphy situation. If you missed some of the stuff that I've talked about as this unfolded, this is the brand. The work for other men is the brand of the liminal order that Jack is putting out. And it's so rooted into him that he can't escape it. So when his DMs to me came up right away, it was like, you know, the good work I'm doing. When I had no idea who Jack Murphy was outside of one like 3-minute exchange between him and Tim Pool that I saw on Twitter. And I thought he had some interesting takes that I still kind of agree with about the difficulties of practically exercising your beliefs in regards to rights and things like vaccines when you have the practical aspect of having children. Because when you have children, it's not just you anymore. You have some compromises that, your political beliefs could lead to severe consequences for your children. And you have to decide whether your political beliefs on this particular issue are worth that or not. That's all I knew about Jack, was that he might have insight into that question. Other than that, I'm not familiar with the work. Never even heard of the liminal order until this stuff came out. So anyway, but this is the reason I bring this up, is because the work helping men is the brand. These 4 words. The work help others. The work help men, right? The work help. Those are the words of his brand. All of this is my responsibility. Yeah. In refusing to own my past, I opened the door for the most hostile actors with the worst imaginings. No one was a hostile actor with the worst imagining. You're still deflecting. The hostile one was you. You were hostile to everyone who talked about anything, because at the start, people were just laughing. The hostility came from you to Sydney, and then on the Tim Pool show, and then to everybody who talked about it when you wanted to call to Glenn Beck to try and get them canceled, when you had a war room to try and go after the quartering, even after he agreed to stop posting stuff at your request, you're like, we're going to bury him. The hostile one was you, Jack. People weren't hostile. They laughed. They were laughing at you. You're just mad that they weren't listening to your equivocation and lies, which you're now saying were, that was your problem. You were just mad, and you're still mad about it. This is the thing. If you've learned, if you've grown from this, if you've truly advanced your position, you are saying in the first half that your mistake was not owning this stuff. Well, then you can't be mad at people who are agreeing with your now position, because you're just agreeing with everybody. One of the first things I said, you needed to immediately say, yeah, I did this. It was wrong. That's why I probably shouldn't have deleted it, but I really didn't want men to be confused about it. Blah, 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 blah. So you agree that all that is true. Then you can't see that advice as hostile, and you can't see the laughter as hostile either, because it wasn't. It was correct. You were hostile. So today, I am owning my past. Okay, how are you doing that? Let's see how he owns his past. Criticism has also fallen unfairly on my brothers in the liminal order. I'll agree to that. I think most of the men in the liminal order, and all of the ones I've talked to, were not like, they were pretty upset with Jack. I don't think any criticism falls on people who joined. I mean, you got suckered. Haha. Sorry, sucker. Happens to the best of us. We all get fucking sucked into something at some point. Some scam, some bad product, whatever, some shitty TV show. Unfortunately for you guys, it costs a lot of money. Men have been mocked for associating with me, and people have wondered what it means to be a member of the liminal order when the founder has secrets like these. I was not the man I should have been, but I am no longer the man I was. The Jack Murphy you see in gossipy articles, they weren't gossipy, Jack. They were just the truth. You've admitted you're still not owning your past, are you? Died before anyone even heard of him. This is not true. This isn't true. You wrote about it while you were hanging out with Cernovich, right at your cancellation. All of this stuff was happening. It's contemporaneous. This is not 2004. I still can't do it. I'm owning my past, but that past was dead before you even knew who I was. That's how I'm owning it. I should have been honest that he ever existed. I think he still does. Instead of covering him up, but I did not want him to detract from the work I started. Some of that work includes liminal order, men who join together under a banner of brotherhood in a world gone mad. And my work with them continues because it's far too important to be derailed by foolishness. Imagine the guy who designed the engine compartment of the fucking Ford Pinto, right? The one that blew up all the time. Imagine him saying this exact same thing. But I started good work on the combustion engine and getting people moving and transporting them to their jobs. It's too important to be derailed by foolishness. Let me address those men in that group so the world knows the truth. Okay. Oh man. Look, I'm not saying I know how to look for lies in a written document, but I am a lawyer. just saying. The liminal order is not and never has been a Jack Murphy fan club. That is spelled out plainly in our initial contact page. This is not a group to celebrate myself. It should have been. Why start it? Liminal order is a network of men living out masculine virtues in a degenerate world. Stop it. Stop, Jack. The liminal order, they're already dead. Why are you making fun of them like this? This is... All the liminal order guys are like, please stop saying this. We're bruised enough. Stop hitting me, Dad. Oh my God. Some are men who are raised with good values, who never strayed from the path, and who have come seeking others like themselves. And some are like me with their own dark secrets that they reject. But did you reject them? Or did you just ignore them? They seek to become better men, perhaps to move from Democrat to deplorable like I did, or from the consent to virtue. Move away from consent. Oh, shit. We're only on page 4. Holy shit. Let me read a couple of these super chats. I got to see what people are thinking about this. Blazing Gamer says, found a pick off Kiwi Farms. Look at the labels or words. Don't know what the show is really is about. Sent you your Twitter DM. Matthew Spriggs. Hi, Nick. Had a classmate be murdered last week. He was part of the state's canine tracking team. They located the suspect who was armed and posted up, shot him above the vest. Sergeant Josh Caudle, Arkansas Department of Corrections. Shit. Cheers to Josh Caudle. End of watch. Hopefully some peace to his family. Oh my gosh. Shroom Dukem says, glad to hear you're having fun with Elden Ring. See Goody, fuck the liminal order. Join the Riminal Order like a true alpha chad. www.riminalorder.com/home. And there's merch at riminal-order.creator-spring.com. Jiffy the Magic Elf says, Jack Murphy's post makes me hate life. Alcohol makes me love life again. John O'Mara says, this is the Jack Murphy train made of the engines and the caboose. I hope you get my humor. Love your show, Nick. I'm also known as Mr. Pig, but my boomer self hasn't been able to figure it out. Tina says the only game show Arms Girl is going to win is the biggest gainer. Jordan Flata says, please say in Richard's idea manifest of the cook. Gas and Heap says, oh no, I just spilled my dollars all over this super chat. Golly, I sure hope some YouTube lawyer doesn't vacuum them all up with his giant nose and use them to buy Bitcoin. P.S. Great talking to you at Road Rage. You killed. Hey, thanks, brother. And thanks for the Bitcoin beatdown. Again, I hope you're right. I just fear that I am. And I'm a pessimist. Marcel DeFore says Jack quotes historical figures from the immortal words of Ice-T. I got news for you. That means you're gay.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
I cry every time. Ginger Snap says, I'm scared. Why does Jack sound like Larry the Cucumber? You know where he's going. Otaku 5505 says, hey, Nick, thanks for the streams. It really helped me get through some hard times last month. It was my birthday last week, but if you could send prayers, just heard my dog has to be put down and my family is devastated. Thanks. Otaku, it sucks losing a pet, man. It sucks. I hate it. It's one of the reasons I hate all pets is because eventually they fucking die. So cheers, buddy. Family's devastated, but you're the dude. You're the dude who's got to deal with it. So good luck. Andrew War Snowboard says, I didn't think the Daily Unbreaded started until 2 hours in. How embarrassing for him. Okay, back to this. The liminal order has 3 core values: masculinity, brotherhood, and sovereignty. Remember when Jack tried to claim just recently that he wasn't teaching men how to be men? You remember that very specific claim? I'm not out here trying to teach men how to be men. That's not what I'm doing. None of which say Jack Murphy is God. No, it's about community service, loyalty to each other, and helping each other out. We help each other when we're grieving. We help pay for funerals. We help men move their families out of violent zones into safe havens. We help men find jobs. We build businesses and institutions that reflect our values. We help men be loving fathers for their children and stable husbands for their wives. We help each other do what men are supposed to do. I did not teach a single man how to be a man. Not one time. I didn't do it. I did not. It literally said that he did not do this. Again, the lies, Jack. As for myself, I know I am not the perfect man. I've never once said Jack Murphy possesses perfect masculinity. I've consistently and continuously taken guidance from philosophy, politics, and religion. Not consistently and continuously, because you had all this learning that didn't really seem to land until you got made fun of on the internet. So it wasn't consistent and continuous. It's literally just been 3 months. And thought to reflect on the ancient teachings and contextualize them for today. Yeah, what did Aristotle have to say about chatterbait since we're contextualizing it? Any guru that tells you they've got some new way of doing things is a liar. The only honest one is someone who helps remind you of what has already been established or decided or handed down over time. No, it's not. He's literally, Jack, your earlier point was that Aristotle had a perception of masculine virtue. And then Machiavelli came in, and then Hobbes and Locke, and that it wasn't actually any of those. It was actually all of them. So literally new things were added. Oh, broke my fucking mic arm. New things were added in real time in your own letter. Your own letter rejects this notion that no one doing anything new. Your own letter belies what you're saying. The only honest one is someone who helped remind you of that was already been established or decided or handed down over time. This is such a false concept because at some point a new thing had to come about. It had to. If Christianity is a virtue, Christianity was new, right? Gentiles believing in the Jewish God, that was new. That was a new thing. Well, but it's been done by now. But why does that preclude? Like, so where's the cutoff where all newness stops? Like, when did that occur? This is a nonsense. This is a fallacy of antiquity, and it's a bad fucking fallacy, just like the fallacy of novelty. Jack, I thought you're a logics guy. I am not Jack Murphy, creator of masculinity. I am Jack Murphy, learning masculinity for myself and teaching others as I go. The more I learn, the more I can teach. I am a seeker, which by its nature contains humility. I'm always looking for more answers and more truth. And you can see that through everything I've ever written. No, actually, I distinctly remember one of your articles saying this is apex level stuff, which would necessarily imply that there's no more truth than that. So it's not everything you've ever written, because one of the things you ever wrote was how to have your wife have sex with other men as the peak masculine sexual energy harnessing that could happen. So that's not right at all. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I've always come with humility. You know that I've always come. I'm always asking people questions. I'm the student, they're the teacher. And if you need, here it is. We did it, Reddit. And if you need any evidence to the contrary that Jack Murphy says I'm the perfect Giga Chad meme and others have to do what I say, look at my history of work. In with my work, the work right next to Giga Chad. There it is. He fucking wrote it in there. And that work continues. One obvious example this year in the liminal order has been the philosophical analysis of masculinity as taught by Dr. Michael Millerman. He understands the philosophy of masculinity, so we learn from him. We're all still learning what it means to be a man, and we do it together. No, it's not Giga. It's Giga. Giga Chad is funnier than Giga Chad. The law of comedy, by the way, this is a maxim. The law of comedy trumps phonetics. I can't believe you guys don't know about this. Giga Chad doesn't sound as good as Giga Chad. Nina Infinity, I set a boundary and you just crossed it, woman. Heartfelt. Fuck you. By the way, guys, I'm going to be on Nina Infinity's show on Wednesday night. We're going to do it. We're going to do the show. That came out weird. That came out seminal, which is not true. We're going to do a show Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, I believe is the time. Okay. I considered stepping back when my past sins came to light. Should I shut it all down and go silent? If people believe I'm a hypocrite, should I back off so I don't damage the cause? Then I remembered I'm not the only podcaster who has faced the path being dredged up with every regretful past thing they've done and had come to terms with them in public. Oh, come on. Are we serious? I've only skimmed this letter. I did not know this paragraph was in here. This is fucking embarrassing. You ready for this? I considered Joe Rogan, for example. Why do people listen to Joe Rogan? Is it because of his inappropriate jokes, even racist jokes, and other things he has said? Literally, yes, Jack. Literally, yes. The Joe Rogan experience is the product of a decades-long career of comedy, mainstream television popularity, UFC commentary, and then it just so happened that he tends to be an interesting interviewer. But of course, it's because of the inappropriate jokes or racist jokes. That's how Joe Rogan got big, was his comedy career launched him in. It was a product of everything that our past builds us to who we are. But this is fucking bad. No, people don't listen to him for that. Do they listen to him in spite of that? Yes. No, most of the people who listen to Joe Rogan know that those jokes don't matter. It's not an in spite of, like, oh, I'm very uncomfortable by Joe Rogan's jokes, but I'm going to listen to him in spite of them. No, There's no spite to the joke. Because the people who listen to Joe Rogan are there for a good conversation. And there's no spite to the past. Because that past doesn't matter in the sense of disqualification. It's not a disqualifier. It's not cancel worthy. The difference is Joe Rogan's jokes don't negate what he says. Your actions, the covering up of those actions, and the way you reacted when they were brought up, all those things combined run in direct contravention to your message. There's the difference between you and Rogan. Rogan saying an edgy joke as a comedian doesn't run in contravention to him doing great interviews, interviewing interesting people. If they're great, I don't know that Rogan's interviews are great. I think Rogan's just a good blank slate to let his guests shine. He's great at that. Whatever that is, it's a very good skill that he's developed. Okay, here we go. And Joe Rogan has talked about how he used to have libertarian values, which really means hedonistic values. Nope. You don't get to take someone else's words and impute your failings upon them. That's not how that works. And he had to transition from libertarian values to traditional virtues. And that results in behavior change. Yep. Joe Rogan seems... Wait. So is Joe... What major thing has Joe Rogan transitioned away from and into that he is now Joe Rogan, the traditional values Joe Rogan? What traditional value did Joe Rogan adopt that he didn't already hold? This is nonsense. If you look at all the great conversion stories in history, they're only memorable because how drastic the change was. I think about Saul converting into Paul. Saul didn't convert into Paul. Saul and Paul were always the same person with two different names. You had a Jewish name and a Roman name. It was always the same guy. He doesn't convert into Paul. That doesn't happen in the Bible. Jack, you're a drive-by scholar of everything, I bet. Oh, wait, did you guys see recently that fucking ad that Jack Murphy did? If you want to figure all this fucking stuff out, it's explained in the ad. You saw the ad. I played it the other day. I don't have it handy, but the ad was for a podcast, for lack of a better word, that abridges major texts into 15 minutes. Major texts, classic texts from all sorts of fields of study or classic fictional literature. It distills them into 15-minute digestible bits so you can sound good at a cocktail party. And Cuck Murphy is the guy on the fucking front page of the ad. He's the cover photo. This is why he doesn't understand any of this stuff, is because he's a surface level scholar, right? Because I've gotten a directed education. That directed education was literally just you talking to someone on a podcast for an hour and a half. It didn't teach you shit. You got some quips you could take out. Jack is I fucking love science of philosophy. I fucking love philosophy. That's Jack Murphy. Like Reddit post philosophy. There you go. I understand Thomas Sowell because I read a quote. I mean, shit. For example, in the New Testament, he went from slaughtering Christians to writing a huge chunk of the Bible and correcting churches. Paul literally never once strayed away from the things he had done. There was never like, oh shit. Paul got doxxed, used to be Saul. Turns out he killed a bunch of Christians. Fuck. Sorry, you guys. I know I'm in a Philistine prison or whatever. Should have told you. Could really use help. Please send Timothy to give me blowjobs and a couple slices of bread. What are you talking about, Jack? Paul, from the moment he transitioned, was confessing his sins. From the moment, confessed who he was. Never hid. Not once. It's not just about how drastic. And by the way, Paul's story is not about Paul. God damn it. Paul's story is about God utilizing the worst offender for his good, for his glory. That's the big message. Because Paul would never self-gratify like this. Ever. He'd never, well, look at the big conversion stories of the past. Look at Samson coming around at the last second. Look at Abraham willing to sacrifice his son. That's like me. I used to slaughter Christians, and I'm kind of a lot like Abraham. No. Paul always regarded himself as the worst of sinners. Literally always. Unfit for anything. But God just kept bringing him places and using him anyway. That's a God thing, not a Paul thing, you dummy. Oh, you fucking dope. Okay. This is not me placing myself on par with the greats of history. I don't expect anyone to say, hey, look, there's St. Paul, Joe Rogan, and Jack Murphy. They're all the same. One of the most offensive sentences ever written. Definitely not. That's the opposite of virtue, the opposite of humility. I think Joe Rogan should be pissed off at this sentence. But why do people listen to Joe Rogan consistently and relate to Paul's writings? It's not just because they're experts. Well, Joe Rogan isn't an expert. I think that's, I don't think Joe would label himself an expert. That's what makes him a good interviewer, is he's not an expert. He's a guy. He's normal. He's the hero's journey. He's fucking Mark Hamill, right? He's a blank slate. Is really good to allow others' expertise to shine through with kind of the regular guy questions and approaches to things. Look, I'm going to bring my own life experiences, but none of them are expertise. It's because they were normal men with a normal perspective. Then you just, not just because Paul wasn't a normal man with a normal perspective either, though. Like, this is like, you can't do this comparative analysis with Rogan and Paul. They're way different. Paul's podcast is boring, for example, and they were humble because of their path. We see their painful past and the mistakes they've made and the men they've become in spite of those pasts. Do we? What mistakes did Joe Rogan make? Like, really, what mistakes? Oh, I'm sorry I said racist jokes. Is Joe Rogan sorry? That's brand management, and everyone knows it. No one's actually mad at Joe Rogan for racist jokes. And those conversion stories make their work more meaningful to us, not less meaningful. Remember, he's comparing them because of the greatest, like the most dramatic transitions ever. And he's got Paul slaughtering Christians to not, and Joe Rogan telling racist jokes like 3 times ever and then not. Like, that's... stop. This is the mistake I made. By hiding my sins, I made people believe that what I taught was a lie. It was a lie. You didn't believe it. If I'd revealed my foolish past earlier, people might have learned from my conversion story. Not because I'm on par with Joe Rogan, who didn't reveal his foolish past earlier, by the way. Like, that surfaced. I mean, everybody knows that Joe Rogan's a comedian in the 90s, and comedians in the 90s have pretty much universally said something that's offensive today. A comedian talking about laundry in the 90s. I mean, I pulled a bunch of clothes out of my head and whoa, out of the dryer, and whoa, I was suddenly wearing a turban. Then I murdered a school with a truck of peas. Like that. Everybody in the 90s said something offensive today. That's not owning your past. Fucking hell. I gotta stop. Not because I'm on par with Joe Rogan and Paul, but because I'm a normal man who made bad decisions when he thought they were right. And now I see how wrong they were. And I can say from a place of authority, these things are wrong, and here is how I know. Libertarian values, which are hedonistic values, nope. They're 2 different words because they're 2 different things. Like, these are vastly different concepts. Tell us we can do whatever we want without consideration beyond consent. Literally, no. Libertarians have a non-aggressive principle, the non-aggression principle, which means that you can't just consider the consent because you might violate the non-aggression principle in a different way to someone else, even if you have the consent of the main party. This is not the way to build a meaningful life. We've all seen the extreme behavior libertarian values can result in. Wait, what? What libertarian extremists are we talking about? What is this? The destruction of the family, creating generations of broken people who don't know how to love or be loved. This is not libertarianism. The fuck is he on about? Hold on. Sorry. Today I have learned one thing. Jack Murphy knows literally fuck all about libertarianism and hedonism. Good Lord. Okay, sorry. Sometimes you just have to tweet. You just have to do it. Drug epidemics claiming millions of lives. Yes, the complete libertarian philosophy of drug epidemics. School kids having their nudes posted online and committing suicide from the embarrassment and bullying. Yes, posting nudes online, very libertarian perspective, doesn't violate the non-aggression policy at all. Or principle. The NAP is not violated by taking someone's nudes and posting them online without their consent for the purpose of embarrassment and bullying. That's very libertarian. And yes, people doing shameful things in their relationships and on the internet. Fucking goodness. People call me a hypocrite for not owning my mistakes. Well, I own them now. They've been revealed for the whole world to see, and there's no going back. It's not owning them. Oh my God. I would not go back if I could, because my past reveals that everything I've warned about has been true. No, it wasn't, though. It wasn't true at all. Your past was fine until it got exposed. Now it's not true, but you had the grift. You had it down. What destruction did you were multiplying and growing way more than you ever did. It's not true. Let's see. I've written countless emails, blog posts, and tweets, and recorded dozens of podcasts, and even wrote a book. It's called Democrat to Deplorable. Maybe you've heard of it. Warning about the evils of libertarian values. I've told everyone who will listen that libertine is not libertarian. Beliefs and licentious actions will destroy individuals and, in turn, society. When I say that now, people will know that I'm speaking from personal experience. But that didn't destroy you, though. That's the other problem. It didn't destroy you. That's when you were growing. What destroyed you was dishonesty, not libertine practice, not hedonism, not libertarianism. Dishonesty destroyed you. You still don't know you still haven't learned. I'm not saying it academically, theoretically, or rhetorically. These are raw memories of how leftist beliefs nearly destroyed me. They nearly ruined me again when I refused to own up to them. That wasn't them. How did they this is okay. Pro tip. If you're going to come clean about your past and you're going to own the things and you're going to sit here and talk about how those beliefs nearly destroyed you, talk about how the beliefs nearly destroyed you. That's what he hasn't done. I still think this motherfucker's licking hairy assholes. I still think it's happening. I have seen nothing to tell me the opposite. They're being revealed cause people to walk away from the truth I was trying to share. Nope, your dishonesty. Not they're being revealed. You're still missing the point. My story doesn't negate what I've taught. It proves it. Actually, it's you that's wrong. My own life is a study in the truth of what I teach. And it's time I embrace that so I can do more good than ever before. They'll strike me down, but I'll become back stronger, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was a cuck too. Because if I can prevent even one young man from following my path, if I can just save one life, if I can just help just one man find virtue before he makes grievous mistakes that will haunt him, all the stupidity I embrace will be worth it. Will it, though? Will it? I place greater importance on the health of our society and our people than my own comfort. The fallacy of altruism. It's not for me. It's for everybody. So if the truth can help save people, then let the truth be shouted from the rooftops. And I'm not starting from zero. My bad choices from 3 years ago. 3 years ago is 2019. I just want to point out that his bad choices were happening contemporaneously with the liminal order. He's acting like these things were all gone and dead, but they weren't. 3 years ago have led to 3 years of changes and improvements. I'm engaged to my longtime girlfriend so we can get married and do things right. 3 years. While so many people are shacking up and playing house, I am putting action behind my values. Wait, what? Shacking up and playing. Turns out I'm better than other people. That's not to say I'm better than others. Wow. Or that I'm a perfect example. It's me living what I teach. As I learned more about the importance of accepting responsibility and the purpose of marriage in society, I changed to embrace my duties. What does he mean by shacking up and playing house? Have you married her yet? And why not? Like, what has stopped him? While other people are shacking up and playing house, I'm living out of wedlock with my fiance, my personal fucking fiance, who I sent to Matt from Tinder to be railed and then put on chatterbait for the world to see her be degraded. This is one change in 1,000 as I continue to transition from libertarian values to traditional virtues. One of the most traditional virtues is lifetime commitment and faithfulness, right? I don't know. Is it? It's actually not one of the most traditional virtues. If you really look at the Old Testament, I mean, I guess it depends what you mean. Maybe some people reading this are hiding secrets of their own. Their libertarian path conflicts with who they want to be. I see a lot of people argue online about whether women can reform after 10 years in hookup culture. It's scientifically difficult for that to happen. So that's why we're trying to prevent those mistakes. And it's a lot of this is on men because men have a value system, whether you like it or not, ladies. And if a man goes down on you and they hear their own breathing echoed back, I don't know, because it's a fucking cavern. That's the joke, because it's a cavern. Then I don't know. I don't know if they want to value that. Whether the woman can deal with it or not is largely irrelevant because it's a partnership. But can they really be a loving wife or mother? Or whether men can come back from various emasculating experiences to become honorable. Can they really be respectable? It's not if they can be respectable, it's will they be respected? Again, the don't get pegged thing is so important because once a woman is pegging you, she doesn't respect you, whether you're respectable or not. That's the idea, Jack. I am here to say you can find redemption. Just because you were X in the past does not mean you will be X forever. No, it doesn't. And no one's saying that it does. No one says it means that. It's, if you take your brand new Mustang 5-liter GT and you hit a deer with it and bend the frame can be bent back, but the Carfax report is always going to show a damaged frame. And you may even have to provide a salvage title to the person you sell it to. Can it still go 170 miles an hour? Maybe. Can the structure be reinforced and fixed and all that? Maybe. But everybody who looks at that Carfax report is going to go, fuck. And we're just trying to, this is it. This is all anyone's trying to do, is prevent everybody from looking at your Carfax, your ASFAX report and going, fuck. That's it. Simple. That's what all the manosphere bullshit is, by the way. Is that you have an ASFAX report, and if a dildo's been in it, someone's going to look at that and go, fuck. And if enough people look at it and go, fuck, then you're out. Then you're done. Christianity morality has informed a large part of my quest for redemption and growth. The unique part of Christianity is redemption. It's not actually unique to Christianity. Redemption exists basically in all major faiths. It's just the means by which redemption comes. We are redeemed not by our own works, but by grace. And part of that grace is true repentance for what we've done and a heart desiring change, which kind of sounds like your own works. As I move to explore my faith, I am pressed to cultivate humility, repentance, and a heart of change. Those are works. And this experience has created more urgency for me to seek that redemption than ever before. I must become what I am called to be rather than what I have chosen to be in the past. What was old will become new. Frankly, if anyone rejects the ability to be redeemed, they are rejecting Christian morality and the American spirit as well. Turns out that they're not the Christians. Come on, man. Stop it. That is not to say that I'm synonymous with the Christian faith or that I don't have to show my repentance and desire to change. I do, and that is on me. But those who would attack me from here on out, those who say there is no hope for a man to change, it is not me they are attacking. They're attacking they're attacking Jesus. It's not me. It's Jesus that you're mad at. The American love for a comeback. And I will no longer respond to them. I will spend my effort changing and learning and being redeemed from the man I was when I didn't know better. You fucking idiot. Don't understand redemption in Christ either. I cannot be Jack Murphy, leader of perfect men who've never made mistakes. I am not the Geiga Chad without need for redemption. I can't be that role model. I never wanted to be. I will never be perfect. And after this revealing of my past, I can't even pretend to be, because what was never my role to play. This new phase of my life demands I become something else. So who am I now? Jack Murphy, a man who was once a libertine fool but embraced virtue. When Jack Murphy, a seeker who will learn more about morality until the day I die. Jack Murphy, a companion for people who believe they're too broken to be redeemed. Jack Murphy, a living example of God's grace and the American spirit. Wrap him in the Christian flag and the American flag. It's a double wrap burrito when you put him in the coffin. This is who I am. I would like you to be a part of it. If you're holding things back, secrets you're afraid would hurt you, I want you to know there's a way through the darkness. And if you want to be part of my journey, I'm glad to have you along. If you're someone who's horrified at my past, let me say that I share that horror. The man I was 3 years ago, remember 2 of those years were COVID, is not who I want to be. And I'm doing everything I can to become the best man I can be. That includes learning from everyone who will teach me. Does this sound like another cuck to you guys? I know some of you are new to the channel and might not recognize it, but does this sound like some other cuck? Sure does. Sure does sound like another one. Sounds a lot like Ron Toye to me. If you're further along in that journey than I am, I'd appreciate your insight and advice. I am a student and I want to learn. Learning is how we become better than we were. If you don't want to be part of my journey, that's fine too. This is the only one I agree with so far. Maybe you don't believe in redemption. Oh, of course not. What a fucker. Never mind. I disagree with it immediately. Or you aren't interested in seeing a transition from humanism to objective good. Go ahead and unsubscribe. Maybe you're a bad person. He literally just said, maybe you're a bad piece of shit. There you go. Leave me alone. This is the road I'm on, and I have to walk it. If our paths diverge here, I wish you the best. The Jack Murphy of 3 years ago is dead. The Jack Murphy of 3 months ago is dead too. From here on out, I will be the Jack Murphy who acknowledges the past so I can encourage those with a painful past of their own. I will work to make the world better, as I was already doing. Not by works, 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 not by works. It's not by works, though. God. But this time without the shadow of regret hanging over me. Because you see, I was already doing the good thing. I was actually good the whole time. I was right the whole time. But just this little thing came up and distracted from the work. And I will continue to shout for all the world to hear there is real truth to be found in virtue, masculinity, and social responsibility. We must make the world better. I hope you'll join me. There you go. From the liminal order to Jack. Or from Jack of the liminal order to the liminal order. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I hope that's the last I ever hear of Jack Murphy.